We always think that love will be easy and we just have to find someone to be happy. But the reality is that just finding the one is the first part. The other part is to make the relationship work.
Because you were also culturally different. Like when we first got together, we said we didn't want kids and we're not marriage. And I told you, like, okay, we don't want kids, but marriage is a non-negotiable for me.
It was tough for me. But now that I'm married, it gives me more perspective. Now that I'm a father, even more perspective. So I'm getting more mature.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was always able to disassociate with it.
Oh, no, me, it's tough. That's why I need a moment after my day. I like to disconnect. Because going from coaching, that is like taking your energy, and then you see your baby boy, and then you have to clean the dishes. No way. No. I'm sorry, no way. Yeah, but because I can't. It's coming back on this because you want to complain on the podcast. No. Hey guys, welcome for the first podcast episode. I'm here with my dear wife, Apollonia Ponti. How are you doing?
Hi babe.
It's nice to be here
everyone.
with you.
Thank
I want to talk about what did we learn after 10 years being together?
Yeah.
What did you learn about after 10 years being with such an amazing husband, man, French guy?
Well, obviously a lot because it's my second pregnancy. So, yeah, I think a lot of people, a lot of our viewers, a lot of people that follow you, follow me, they want to know about our relationship. So this is the reason I think that we've also decided to kind of open up our life a little bit more to the people and to the viewers, to the listeners, because our goal is really to have a great relationship. Great relationships take work. And I do believe that we have one of the most beautiful relationships and marriages, we can say now, marriage, we should say. And we just want other people to experience the same thing. So I think I'm a big believer, and I know you are. If you're going to hire a business coach, you want your business to look like theirs. If you want to make $1 million, you want to hire a millionaire to teach you how to do it. And if you want a beautiful relationship, you have to hire and follow coaches that have the beautiful relationship. So we've noticed that a lot of people want to know more about us. So thank you guys not only for being here, but for us opening up our lives to you a little bit more. And that's what you can expect here also on these videos in the channel. But I think that 10 years of being together and 5 years of marriage is marriage, right, babe?
You still don't know the numbers.
4 years? How long?
We are going to
We're
5
almost
now.
5 now. Yeah.
5.
Okay, come on, babe.
Yeah, but you're still hesitant, so I like to see you struggling with the numbers.
I'm going to be hesitant for the rest of my life. I don't do good with dates. That's something you've already accepted. So I think acceptance is a great one.
It's a good one to start.
Accepting how someone is. But I think there's a fine line. So I think there's qualities that you can accept about your partner that don't break a relationship, but also accepting that you fully understand who they are as a person, you know what I mean? And not having these expectations of how someone should be in a marriage and letting them truly show up in a relationship, I should say, first, because obviously when you get to marriage, hopefully you already want to get that figured out. But in a relationship is like, I see so many now in our day and age of dating, it's like there's so many expectations. She should be like this, he should be like this, and this is, I feel like, what kills our way of pursuing attraction and really letting someone show up for us and seeing who they really are. Is because I always say expectations kill appreciation, so you can't appreciate that person. So accepting the good qualities, and if there's bad qualities, working through them. I think acceptance is a big one from like what we've learned is accepting one another. Like, for example, like the fact that when you step in a kitchen, like it's volatile, like you will hurt yourself, and I have to accept that you do not belong in the kitchen. I focus on so many other things that you do greater, that this means nothing, has no value. You know what I mean? And so we start to put value on the things that are sometimes meaningless because we make it meaningful in our eyes, because our perspective is that this person should be a certain way. So that comes from expectations, comparison, comparing others, what your life should be like because this person says it should, or this person says it shouldn't,
Interesting. So I think what is very important for me to say to the viewers is also that we have seen a lot of difficult stories when we look at the media, Disney, Hollywood. We always tend to value love, but in a real life, it's tough. And as you mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, is that it requires work to be with someone else that is just different. And even if we are both love coach, is that we have to learn how to be with someone, how to communicate the right way, how to maintain the love, how to maintain the relationship itself. So I do feel like it's very important to say that it is possible to be happy in your love life to
For
the
sure.
people that would listen to us, because I hear so many stories where women will tell me like, men are the same, I cannot find a good man, or just like, there is always narcissist, and there is toxic people, but there is also good people. It's just that we always think that love will be easy and we just have to find someone to be happy. But the reality is that just finding the one is the first part. The other part is to make the relationship work and to last. So that was one thing I really wanted to share. Another thing that I learned after 10 years being with you, I think it's just very important to have a vision and to communicate about it, because the moment we were like struggling of having arguments is because I was sure about my vision, but I didn't communicate clearly with you. And when we both know where we are going, I think it makes the relationship, the marriage much easier. And I've seen so many people not communicating about their vision and just thinking that the other one will read their mind. So that's one thing also that I feel is very important in any marriage, any relationship, not just love as well. I think communication is like the number one tool.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if I agree with like the fact that agree that marriage takes work, relationships take work, but I think that we also have like in society, like, oh, it's so difficult. It needs to, like, it's so hard. And I don't find the work that we do in our relationship before and now our marriage like so difficult and hard, I think that there is a difference between working in a relationship / marriage to be better and become better for one another, and then working to make something work. You know what I mean? There's a difference between the two. And I really want to make sure that people understand the difference. Like Alex and I never worked to make this relationship work. Like it was very natural for us. I felt like you were the person that I was supposed to be with. But during the time that we did find each other, there's problems. There's nuances. Your whole way of living is now trying to adapt to another person's way of living. Your whole way of communicating and showing love is completely different. So you have to learn that other person's, right? And so if you're not trying to make something work, everything else just becomes free flowing, and I feel like becomes more open. But when we have couples and we coach couples and people that are trying to make something work because they want the desire, they want the love, they want the feeling, they want the affection, we can name it all. And they're so infatuated with the feeling to make that work, they think that this is the one because of XYZ, but it's not sometimes, And I think that it's better to define like what work is in a relationship and what we've learned. I think for me, work has been not necessarily easy, but it's not forced. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to clarify. And I also know that if I can explain the type of work that I think has to be done in a healthy marriage and relationship, it's kind of like you have to just shift and navigate. You don't have to change who you are. You don't have to change your whole way of doing life, but you have to shift and navigate and sometimes compromise, right? Just the little shifts and navigations. And then also in the compromise, you have to have an understanding, because that's where people are like what we were saying is like they try to guess what their other partner, like they don't really communicate. And that's where we see marriages falling apart. That's where we see relationships falling apart. It's like men are like, I work so hard, I do all this things, she doesn't appreciate me. But yet they're not talking about it. They're not talking about how they feel, when they come home from work, how exhausted they are.
Do you see this with your clients?
Yeah, what they need. And then when it's like the last minute, the woman's already gone and checked out, So I think it's really important that you look at like, how can I compromise? And the only way you can compromise is through the communication, and sharing like what you're going through with your partner.
Yeah, I like the idea that work means also improvement in the relationship to always make it better, because the moment you're not working on your relationship, you can also take your partner for granted. And I've coached so many women that lost their husband or their boyfriend because they took them for granted. They didn't really communicate. They took the hard work that they were doing for granted. And so then they come to me and say, I really want my ex back, or I really want this guy to understand that I realize this value. And so, but for me, the work that I see in a relationship is to not be selfish and to understand that it takes two to make the decision, and a relationship needs to have two good foundation. Because I see a lot of people being selfish in a way that they decide they want this or that, and they don't know how to come to agreement. Without saying it's a sacrifice, it's just an agreement that you need to be with your partner all the time. If not, then the relationship, one person would get some resentment. And I think the one thing with us is that, yeah, we had argument, but I've never seen us having resentment for each other where we are like keeping something deep inside that would create a lot of problems in the future.
Yeah.
And that's the work I see, which means not keeping the negativity, always communicating, even if it's not easy. Because most of the people, I don't know if you have this expression in the US, but we say put the dust under the rug. You don't have this?
Yeah, it's something else. So it's put something under the rug. I forgot it. I'll come to me, but yeah.
So it's the idea that, yeah, there is a problem, but it's okay. I will put under the rug, and then it's like accumulate, and then it becomes too heavy. So I think that's very important. After 10 years being together, the communication is also how you can free your emotions. And if something is bothering you, just talk about it. And it's not that easy because you don't want to hurt someone. You don't want to have an argument again. You don't know if it's the right timing. Just for me, I will always say it's better to communicate.
Yeah. That's why they think that understanding someone that has the skills and is open to having the skills in the beginning of dating and choosing a partner, like I think that's the most important part, is like someone who is open to be able to associate with their emotions and talk about them eventually. I mean, even if they struggle, but they're open to doing it. You know?
Let's do another topic about how did you choose me and how did I choose you, right? I think that would be fun.
Okay.
We can talk about it, guys. Tell us in the comments as well if you like this episode. I think it would be fun.
Yeah.
So let's continue with what we learned from the 10 years of being together. I think that also we need to talk about the differences in like being married and being in a relationship. People ask me this question a lot. And some men, they would come to me and tell me, Alex, does it change something to be married? I want to hear your voice first, and then I will.
I don't think it really changed anything for me to be married to you. Hold on, let me think. I just think it was just different. It was like my forever, you know, like this is the forever. This is it. I think being able to be like, whoa, one person for the rest of my life, this is crazy, you know, like, but it was also a beautiful thing too. It was a shock. But it also makes you feel like you're chosen, and it's like a bond. You have like, now you're building like your family, your little unit when you get married, you know? And I think that changed for me. But the commitment never changed, I don't think. I think maybe the commitment actually got stronger because when life changes, when kids come into play, like we have to make it a point to make sure we're both happy. But I think we would have done that in a relationship too. I'm not too sure anything changed for me. I mean, besides me wearing a ring and saying I'm married and feeling great about it. How about you, babe?
I think it changed me a lot myself.
I think it changed you more than me.
Yeah.
Because I was perfect before I did.
No, but it's just like, I don't know. I was not someone into the marriage. Even if I'm a love coach, it's funny to say that, but I never seen someone getting married. Surrounding me, I've maybe been to 1 or 2 marriage, but it was not someone close to me. So I was not in need of celebration or love or relationship. And also I come from maybe a family where marriage, it's something that you don't really celebrate, or you know, everyone surrounding me, they got married, just the two of them at the court, and that's it, you know, a courtroom. And but I feel like it changed me a lot because saying my wife instead of my girlfriend, it's a statement. It's a real statement. And so I remember one day my older cousin, we were on holidays, and I said, how is your girlfriend? He said, my wife. And I remember this day, it was like maybe 20 years ago. And I remember when he said that, his voice, his like behavior, his charisma was completely different.
Yeah.
So now I have this image in my mind. Every time I say my wife, I'm thinking about him. So I think that was a big one. And getting married, it's also the start of something bigger than a relationship, in my opinion. For me, it just created a big shift. I was ready to go bigger. I was ready to create more. I was ready to travel more, do more things, and celebrate more. And that's why I'm like a little bit sad that we got married in the US. In the
Oh, I was about to say
No,
you're
but-
sad we got married.
no, but we got married during COVID
US,
time, and
yeah,
we
I
didn't have
know.
the time to really do the real party. So I look forward for the 10 years celebration where we
Ditto.
can just go
We're
crazy
gonna
and
go crazy.
dance.
Yeah, exactly. That's something I always think about too.
So yeah, I told my friends, I went to France by myself. After she stayed in the US with our baby boy, and I was in France talking to my friend because one was about like to get married, but he's hesitant. I said, you need to do the biggest wedding possible. Like you need to celebrate because it's only one time in a life, and like you need to make sure that you enjoy this day like crazy.
Yeah.
Like this is my advice to every guy listening to me now. You need to get married and you need to do the biggest party. It needs to be like a movie. It needs to be like a movie. That's my next step.
And also get married for the right reasons, though.
Of
Yeah.
course, get married for the but enjoy this, because as a man, sometimes we go get married, but we look at the budget and we are scared, and we hear stories about men that has been screwed by a wife or and vice versa. But it's just like if you get married, please go full in. Go full in. I think it's a very important day in our life as a man.
Yeah.
And I
That's
didn't
nice, babe.
realize that the moment I was getting married. But, after a few years, I can just reflect on that.
Yeah, that's nice, babe. That's really nice. Yeah, I think you've changed a lot, though, when we got married.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you were also culturally different. When we first got together, we said we didn't want kids and we're not marriage. And I told you, like, okay, we don't want kids, but marriage is a non-negotiable for me. So if you want to stick this out with me, like, please understand that, because you were
Yeah,
not
look
about
at you.
marriage either. And now look, 2 kids and married.
And the dog.
Yeah, and a dog that you love all the time. She loves you.
My little
You're a
Didi.
sucker for her. So, like, and I'm not, you're more of a sucker for the dog. Anyways, so the thing too is, like, culturally, you've changed, I think, a lot of your habits, your normality of what you were used to when you were growing up. And just like, you opened up a lot, just, and I say this all the time, I'm Hispanic, you're French. You have a beautiful family. Like, even though a lot of your family you're talking about is not married in France, but it's like they've been together for years and years. So you still came from habits of success, of successful relationships, which are marriages in their eyes, because it's just different, And I also think that, with that said, you changed so much just with me. Like, I always say I love you. Now you always say I love you. Like, you barely said I love you before. It was so hard for you to just kind of open up just for an I love you, And so I think that's important, is like just understanding. And I think that's another reason why I said acceptance. Because in the beginning of our relationship, I had to accept qualities of you that I probably would have said I'm not okay with, because you can even say I love you. It's like every once in a while you would say it in a blue mood. You wouldn't even say I was beautiful sometimes when I got dressed, but there was other ways that you would show me things, and I knew how much you loved me. I knew how much you appreciated me by all the other things that you did that a lot of men probably didn't do for their women. So if I just sit here and compared, that would be like horrible. And so another thing that I said that I've learned from marriage is, like, there's 2 things I think that we do really well is we don't talk bad about each other outside of our marriage. We don't talk shit, let's say, about each other to outside of our marriage. We don't complain. Maybe I'll complain to my mom and be like, oh my God. And then my mom's like the one that's like the stable ground and always takes her side, unfortunately. So I stop complaining to her sometimes.
I think it's because she's wise, honestly. I think she understands that I'm always right.
Anyways.
Yeah.
But that is like not going to the outside world and complaining about your relationship, because your relationship. That's number 1. Number 2 is, I think we've been able to separate our coaching experiences, the outside world.
That was tough for me before to
Really?
get married. Yeah. Because like I hear stories. I started a little bit before you, but I started in 2007. So when you hear for now 18 years of stories that are tough, of people that are crying on the phone with me, that I want to help, I want to save their marriage, their relationship, their family. Yeah, I think it's like It was tough for me. But now that I'm married, it gives me more perspective. Now that I'm a father, even more perspective. So I'm getting more mature.
Yeah, it is interesting because I was always able to disassociate with
Oh
it.
no, me it's tough. That's why I need a moment after my day. I like to disconnect because going from coaching that is like taking your energy, and then you see your baby boy, and then you have to clean the dishes. No way, no.
You
I'm
don't
sorry,
clean the
no way. Yeah, but because I can't. It's coming back on this because you want to complain on the podcast.
No, I'm not. I'm just telling them. Like, I think that's the most important in knowing your weaknesses and strength in a relationship and the person that you're with. You know?
Yes, I think so too. So yeah, that's interesting that we don't talk shit to people, and I think we don't have to also because we have a good relationship.
Yeah, I always tell clients like the worst thing that you can do is talk to other people about your relationship, especially people who are close to you, because they're always going to kind of emotionally be on your side. And they also bring in their opinions from their past relationships or things that it influences your decisions. And so that's why it's really good to have like an outside perspective sometimes, you know, with someone that's not involved or barely knows you,
Yeah.
has no emotional attachment to you. And sometimes when we vent to other people, it places images or ideas in our mind that were never there in the first place, you know? And so we bring in more baggage, aka in their conversation or the communication or the argument with our partner. And so I think it's important to always like kind of keep your relationship, especially if it's healthy, as your safe haven, you know, your safe place.
Yeah. And it forces you to communicate with your partner
Yeah.
instead of communicating outside and then coming, and you create more anger and more resentment, and when you come you just explode instead of communication, so instead of communicating, which is very important as well.
Yeah. What else have you learned?
I'm thinking about it. I think I've learned that, so I wanted to come back on my first idea. I've learned that it's possible to be in a beautiful marriage and relationship. It's possible to find a good person, male or female. There is a lot of good people out there. I think it's possible to meet people also with challenges. But also we have to remember, and we would do a video about that, that when we first met, like my English was very, very dramatic. It was very bad. So I was using Google Translate to respond to your text message. But no matter what was the difficulties, when you click with someone, when you have a connection, and when someone wants to get to know you for real, not just like I coached a client yesterday from the UK. She has this beautiful image of love and she wants that. But this image of love comes with time. At
People
the
want it
beginning,
immediately.
yes, at the beginning you cannot have immediate love. It's just, I'm sorry,
It's
it's
not
like
natural.
winning the lottery. It's kind of like not natural and even most of the time not possible. And so that's what I love about us. It's kind of like we took the time to really learn about each other. And even through the difficulties of the language barrier, or, you know, cultural differences, etc. I think that was very important. So, and that are the foundation of 10 years, I feel. Like understanding each other, sometimes with our silliness or madness, but that's how we can just be stronger for each other. So that's what I've learned.
And knowing each other's roles, I think, are really important in a relationship, and knowing that they can change too. You know, because like there was a time where I was working like crazy. You were working like crazy. I was bringing in a lot and managing a lot of employees, and then I'd have issues, and then you were doing that, and we couldn't focus on our relationship at the time as much, but we sacrificed our relationship to also make the life that we have now. So I think that knowing your roles through your seasons of relationship or marriage are really important. Like right now, I'm kind of taking a back seat. You know, I'm pregnant and have a toddler chasing around at home, even though we have help. Thank the Lord, we have the privilege to have help. But you're still, the idea of understanding the roles that you place in a marriage and knowing that they can change and just checking in helps you have clarity, so it doesn't make life feel so hard. You know, like motherhood doesn't have to be hard. Relationships doesn't have to be hard. Marriages doesn't have to be hard. I think society paints it as hard. Do it has its struggles? Of course it has its struggles, but it's like, you know, it's a season. Like when you wake up the next day, it's different. You have a reality to choose differently. And I think as long you'll always be able to choose differently your reality, no matter what struggles you have in a marriage and a relationship, as long as you understand each other's roles in that time. And I think this is what grows couples apart, is that they don't understand their role, right? So for example, you can have a woman that's married and she's used to just being a mother this whole time, raising kids, and the dad's going off and working his job at home or 9 to 5. And now she wants something more because the kids are going to school. And the husband just expects her to be this person. And she's like, no, I want to do other things. And she's trying to do other things, but he's not really supporting her or seeing her. And all she wants to do is be seen. And now they're starting to drift apart. So I think it's important, not only the communication. That's why we said communication is so important when you're choosing a partner, that they're open, they're not avoidant in communication. When you're choosing, first and foremost, number one, since day one, month 3 of our dating, okay? That's one of my non-negotiables for everybody that's watching. And I think that it doesn't mean they have to be the best communicator. They have to willing to see that they're not, to work through it, okay? That's the main key. But I think not to get carried away is then when we forget that our roles can change, that's when we grow apart in partnerships. That's when people grow apart in partnerships. When I hear people, oh, we got divorced because we grew apart. We broke up because we grew apart. It's because the fact that we didn't accept where they were in life and try to mold that. And I think a lot of times when we get married, we're like, we think we own the person. Like that person belongs to me. And I always say in my videos on my YouTube channel is, you have to remember, and all throughout life, you're responsible for your own oneness. You're responsible for you. I'm responsible for me. You're responsible to keep up with yourself. You're responsible to be healthy. You're responsible to be a good man. You're responsible to bring in the income right now. You're responsible to be a good father. You're responsible to treat me right. You're responsible to treat my mom right. You already know your roles and your responsibilities, right? That's on you. And if you don't do it, that's your fault. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so as long as you know your responsibilities, I think that's the most important part. And then your foundation. What are your roles? My role is different now. But in 6 months to a year, my role is going to be probably even more different. Now we're changing another role for me because you want me to help us together do something. We want to open our lives to the community and actually do a different type of business that we're noticing that people need more. And so that's my role too, is to focus on the new house that we're building, to be a mom and to focus on our new business. So now my old business takes the back burner a little bit too. And we've accepted that. But the only way we were able to do that is because we're on the same page. We have clarity. We communicate about it, and we accept that this is what I want to do.
I call it the vision on my side.
Yeah.
I think if both people align with the same vision, then of course the world will change, the actions will change, the dynamic will change. But if everyone knows, if two people knows where they are going together and why they are going there, I think it would just help any relationship to survive. Most of the time we don't communicate the vision, or we have one vision that will stay for too long and they don't evolve. And that's the problem. That's what I learned in the 10 years, that your vision will evolve, but you need to make sure that your partner understands the vision so your relationship can last, no matter what happened, no matter any obstacles, any problems, any situation. So yeah, you talk about roles, I talk about vision, but I think we say the same thing here.
Yeah, because roles are plural, like more than one.
Yeah.
Vision is like one sometimes. So that's why I just wanted to elaborate.
That's good.
Obviously, I know it's your English, that's why. But I understood what you mean. Yeah, so I think that's like really one of the biggest things and what we've learned. And then also, I think the biggest out of all of it in a marriage is accepting that, like, it's funny because I had a boot camp like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, was it? I can't remember. It feels like so long ago. And I remember that one of the guys had asked me a question like, what was this? Oh, he asked me, what makes you know that like you're safe with your husband? Like he just loves you so much. Like you just feel so safe. Because I was talking about, I don't care if my husband goes out at 4 a.m. I don't care if he's in another country and he'll come home at 3 a.m. We always have this mutual we never even spoke about it, but we do it all the time. When you come home, you text me, I'm home, you call me in the morning, even when you're traveling, night, morning, every morning. And he asked me that question. And I go, my husband, there was two things. My husband has never done anything to make me feel this way. It was actually at one time a family, they're like, guys don't get jealous because what we do.
Everyone asks me this question all the time. Yeah.
And I was like, well, you never given me a reason to make me feel jealous. So that's what I'm saying. You're responsible for your own oneness. So if you never gave me a reason to feel jealous, but I'm still jealous, that's on me. That's something I need to work on, So it's really important for men and women to choose someone who has a bigger perspective that can not only just point the finger, but look at them. When you find a partner that can look at them, it means they want to make the marriage. They want to make the relationship work because they want better. They want to create better. And then second was, the guy asked me, like, what makes you always feel like loved and appreciated by your husband and like he was not going to cheat on you, Like, I feel like so many women think men are going to cheat on them. And because I was like, he can just do his own thing. I don't care what he does. Who am I to say he can and can't do something? And I was like, because he loves me when I'm a croissant and he loves me when I'm not a croissant. And they started laughing because when I'm like chubby, when I'm married and I have a baby and I gain weight afterwards a little bit, you still love me the same. You still appreciate my body the same way, physically, emotionally, mentally, everything. And they started laughing about this. And I was like, it was like a moment for me to be like, wow, this is actually the truth. He still appreciates me for me. And I think that's where a lot of men that are listening and women can be like, this hits home.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, guys, and this is where I can get very controversial. Even though I gain weight, I do believe I can't stay that way. Like, I don't believe my husband needs to accept me 100 pounds to 50 pounds heavier. Like, I just don't. Like, I believe I'm failing the marriage if I do let myself go. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that's really important because I think that also shows, like, I want it not only for me, but I want it for us. And so with that said, because I have to explain this before I said, I think the biggest thing overall is understanding that your relationship is safe. And I don't believe in, we can let infidelity happen in any way in our relationship, right? Because of our perspective of like life and what we've built. And I always say this, and I actually got it from you a long time ago when we were arguing when we were young. My goal with you is I'm going to be the best man possible. So if you ever try to go with another man, you will never be able to find anything better than me. And that really stuck with me. And so like in my head, I'm like, I'm going to be the best woman that this man could ever have in his whole entire life. That if he ever goes out in this marriage, he's going to be like, holy crap, this is horrible. And I should have never done this and regret it for the rest of his life. And so like, that's like literally my saying in my head is like, my goal is to be a good mom, is to be, obviously I have other goals than just being a good mom, giving back to the world, having God in my life, and also being the greatest, not in specific order, wife ever. Like these are my goals, and I think that's important.
I love it. And I think that's funny because let's conclude the podcast on this, but I do feel that we both think that we are the best partner possible but that's
true.
Maybe that's finally one piece of advice that is gold nuggets for you guys, that you need to believe in your ability to be the best partner ever. And what I found in Apollonia, and I think that's the reason why I choose her, so that would be like just to start for the next episode, but I found I was able to have girlfriends, I was able to build my business, but nobody understood why I was working so hard.
Yeah.
And with you, it was so natural. You just took me the way I was. And that was the most beautiful love that I have experienced. And that's why that even if you gain weight or you're pregnant or anything, I think that for me, maybe men, you can tell us how you feel. But for me, if you love me the way I am and you don't criticize me, you don't want to change me, you don't want to argue with me for nothing, you just basically let me be me. I mean, this is the best love ever from any other situation. So even if you gain weight or whatever, even if you're sick, it won't change anything because the way you love me to be me is pure love. That is my love language, more than my love language. This is my motto. So
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks, babe.
Sure. So this was episode number 1 of the podcast.
What we've learned after 10 years of being together.
Yep.
Yes.
And so hope you appreciate this. We are opening our world, as Apollonia said. We want to show you also, there is a just different side of love and different side of being happy, because everyone will make sure that love is excitement, love is fun, but love is not just that. It's also the foundation that you build and the security that you have, the mindset that is positive. That's what I feel is most important. That's what I want to share in the podcast.
Yeah. I always say love is neutral. I always want people to believe this. Love is neutral. You're like,
No, that doesn't make sense for a French person if you do the translation.
Okay, so then never mind. Let's just cross that out.
But whatever, people will tell us if they understand that.
Anyways, guys. All right, guys. So those of you that are listening, those of you who are watching, please comment below. Let us know how you like this video. If you would like to watch anything else, comment below, like other things that you would like to see from us. You can like and follow this channel, and also in the description box, we're going to have an opening for you to submit some Q&As on these type of style podcasts, and also share with us, obviously, your opinion on some of these videos. And also, so go ahead and check out the resources down below in the description. And it was nice doing this, babe.
Yeah, it was nice. Let's go for the next one.
All right. Bye
Bye,
now.
guys.